Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the most important update that is coming from the Kremlin by the decision of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, in connection with the approaching Orthodox holiday of Easter. A ceasefire is declared from 4 p.m. on April 11th until the end of the day on the April 12th, 2026. Russia proceeds from the assumption that the Ukrainian side will follow its example. So probably a few hours later, maybe even a bit less, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, made a statement as well. Ukraine has repeatedly stated that we are ready for minor steps. We proposed a ceasefire for the Easter holidays this year and will act accordingly. People need an Easter without threats and a real movement towards peace, and Russia has a chance not to return to strike after Easter. Probably the Russians will return to the strikes, and once again, Easter will start tomorrow on the 11th of April of 2026 and will be finished by the end of the 12th of April of 2026. But it doesn't mean that before this moment and until the beginning of Easter ceasefire, both the Russians and the Ukrainians will not attack each other. Most likely the parties will attack each other, and we'll see a lot of updates on this matter. For example, today we have a statement made by the head of the office of the president of Ukraine, Budanov. He said that requests from partners to stop attacks on Russia's energy sector are indeed coming, but Ukraine will not refuse such attacks, which means that we'll see more and more attacks of this type. So what did happen during the previous nights? Both the Russians and the Ukrainians attacked each other using hundreds of drones. So let's discuss everything in details. We have a lot of interesting updates, and this is the map that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see the approximate routes of drones that were attacking the territory of Russia. And as you can see, there were at least 4 directions. 2 of them were moving in the southern direction, 1 of them was moving in the southeastern direction of Russia from Ukraine, and another, the fourth and the final routes of attack, was moving in the direction of the central part of Russia. The sources reported that overnight the Ukrainians used at least 180 drones to attack the territory of Russia, and according to information we have, the Ukrainians managed to deal some damage. So let's discuss everything in details, and first let's talk about the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions. During the previous night we received several videos where we can see what exactly the Ukrainians were attacking. In this video we can see a truck of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation that was attacked by a drone and was destroyed. In this article we can see that several drones attacked the city of Melitopol. We have just pictures, but based on these pictures we can make a conclusion that it seems that the Ukrainians attacked an object of energy infrastructure of the territory of the settlement. Few more explosions were recorded in the area of Lugansk region. One of them took place on the territory of the city of Volchevsk. Here we can see a drone of the Armed Forces of Ukraine that attacked some building on the territory of the city, but this attack took place on the 8th of April. We just received a picture and video about this. And as for the overnight attack, we received the video of an explosion that took place on the territory of the city of Lugansk. So something big was destroyed, or maybe it's just an explosion of a drone that hit something on its way. The biggest damage that the Ukrainians managed to deal overnight took place on the territory of Russia. We received this picture from the territory of the city of Gukovo, Rostov region. We can see not an explosion, but the consequences of attacks, smoke, black smoke over the territory. And we have another video published from the area of the settlement of Prudovy, and here we can see a video, and here we can see how civilians were filming this area. We can see a smoke, black smoke over some object of energy infrastructure, and if we zoom in, we'll see that this is an oil depot or another oil refinery or something like this that was hit and probably destroyed by the Ukrainians between the 9th and the 10th of April of 2026. And that's it about the Ukrainian attack. Now let's discuss the attack that was carried out by the Russians. According to the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, during the previous nights, the Russians used 128 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine. Not the biggest number. Those days, the Russians began using up to 200 drones per attack, but now we see that the Russians, for some reason, reduced the number of drones involved in these overnight attacks. Maybe the Russians began using the grand drones of the 4th and the 5th generation, so that is why they reduced the number of drones of the first generations. Maybe this is the reason, who knows. Anyway, during the night we received lots of updates. That's lots of explosions and lots of attacks were recorded on the territory of Odessa region. Here we have a video from the settlement of Vulkovo. Here we can see how the special forces of Ukraine, special services, were trying to stabilize the situation after another attack. So according to information we have, something in the central part of the settlement was attacked and damaged, but I would like to point your attention that this area is located right in the area of the Black Sea, so which means that probably an object of a port infrastructure of this area was probably damaged. Lots of explosions and attacks were recorded on the territory of the city of Odessa, and here we can see the moments how the Russians attacked an oil depot, an oil reservoir. A very heavy explosion took place right after, and as a result of this attack, this reservoir, this object of oil infrastructure, this facility was completely destroyed. And this video was published this morning, and the author is saying that this is exactly what the Russians attacked overnight. Furthermore, the Russians attacked few more objects of infrastructure on the territory of Odessa. Here we can see night, here we can see smoke, black smoke over some area. We have added this video softly, just based on the report that was published by an author of this article. Another object was attacked in this area. Here we have few more reservoirs that were attacked by the Russians overnight. So as we can see, we can make a conclusion that as for the Odessa region, the Russians overnight were completely focused on attacking and destroying objects of fuel infrastructure of Ukraine with the purpose to make a crisis on the territory of Ukraine with fuel. Now let's move further. Also, explosions were recorded around the settlement of Pavlograd. There were several pictures published from the area of the settlement of Privilya. And now let's talk about the most important attacks that took place overnight. We have a video from the area of the settlement of Buzova. Here we can see a Russian reconnaissance drone that was flying over the territory. The sources are saying that probably it was the Geran drone of the 4th or the 5th generations. And when the drone discovered this object of energy infrastructure, the drones behind this drone attacked this object and destroyed this object of energy infrastructure completely. So as you can see, the Russians are keeping attacking objects of energy infrastructure of Ukraine, mainly of fuel infrastructure, with the purpose to make the energy crisis inevitable. But it seems that the most important attack took place in the area of the Pechenegi water reservoir, which is located to the east of the city of Kharkiv. We have this article published by different sources, and according to information we have, let's discuss in this article Pechenegi Dam, what's happening and how it might affect the front in Vovchansk area. As of April 9 of 2026, so not today, yesterday, a series of strikes were recorded on the Pechenegi Dam located in the Pecheneg district on the Seversky Donetsk River. So the pro-Ukrainian sources and monitoring channels are trying to tell us that during the previous days the Russians began bombing and attacking this territory. It seems that the Russians are planning to destroy this Pechenegi Dam, and of course we need to understand that there is a lot of water in this area between the city of Volchansk through this entire Pechenegi water reservoir, and of course if the Russians are able to destroy this dam, all this water will go to the south, and basically it seems that according to this reservoir, we can say that probably if the dam is being destroyed by Russians, so this territory would be flooded completely with water, which will disrupt the logistic of the armed forces of Ukraine in the most northeastern part of Kharkiv region. And Russians, of course, if it happens, will try to use this situation, and they will begin offensive operation with the purpose to establish complete control control over the most northeastern parts of Kharkiv region, while the Ukrainians suffer huge problems with the logistics. So in coming days, everything is possible right exactly in this area. We will keep an eye on this situation. Another important update from the northern directions is that during the previous 24 hours, during the previous day, the Russians finished the battle for the settlement of Miropolska. This information was provided by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. We haven't managed to adjust the map, but we will do this before the next video. We will color the settlement of Miropolska and the complete Russian control, and the front line in this area will look like something like this. And we see that this is another front line in this another village in the Sumy direction that was captured by Russians. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Slaviansk direction. Here we have another important update. Today, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, also just before we started making this video, reported that as a result of clashes, the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the settlement of Dibrova. Based on this report, we will also adjust the map just in coming minutes, and during the next update, we will discuss the changes on the ground. So as you can see, the Russians are intensifying their offensive operation in the Kramatorsk-Slaviansk direction and in the northern directions. Today we received lots of updates from different sources about the fact that the situation in the Slaviansk direction is worsening, and that the Russians have established a certain FPV drone control over the territory of Kramatorsk, trying to cut this direction into several smaller pieces, like the northern parts of the Slaviansk parts and the southern parts, the line between Drushkovka and Konstantinovka. The Russians are trying to establish complete control with FPV drones from this area, and obviously control over the settlement of Dibrova will allow the Russians to shorten the distance to the city and to the main logistic lines that go along N20 road. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous night we received just a lot of updates and a lot of drones and lots of attacks. So this is the situation in Ukraine. Another important thing is that Zelensky during the previous day stated that Ukraine still hasn't received any updates regarding ceasefire and any security guarantees. Zelensky again demands security guarantees from the West, and therefore we understand that what this is, the occupation of Donbas, it's an opportunity to prepare a springboard for subsequent occupation. That is, before doing anything, we need to know the details and have detailed security guarantees. Yes, we are talking about strong security guarantees, but we just don't have them yet. Ukraine does not have security guarantees to talk about other steps, and of course every square meter of our land is Ukrainian land. Later, Zelensky gave more details. He stated that he wants American and European military bases as security guarantee. I believe that if there is an American military base in Ukraine or a joint American-European base, we will face fewer risks. He also stated that Ukraine is entering a difficult period of pressure until September from Russia at the front and from the US in the negotiations. He believes that US could withdraw from the Ukraine negotiations by August. So this is the situation. Once again, after usually since the beginning of the special military operation, every time after the end of the Easter period of time, we have a small period of time between Easter and May holidays on the territory of Russia, Victory Day and so on. And after every Victory Day, the Russians began a significant offensive operation along the entire line of combat contact, which means that during the upcoming months between the 12th of April and the 9th of May, we will see some activities from the Russian side, but these are going to be some preparations before a major offensive operation, and a major offensive operation most likely will start somewhere between 9th and 11th of May of 2026. We have covered most of the updates regarding the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. Now let's discuss the situation in the Middle East. And today we received a very interesting statement and article that was published by the European countries. A joint statement from the leaders of the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Germany, Canada, Denmark, Netherlands, Spain, and the European Commission, the European Council, and Japan, thanking Pakistan and all partners involved for the ceasefire between the United States and Iran. So this is a short description of what was published, but when talking about this article, about this message, there is a very important part about the conflict on the territory of the Middle East, and this is the way how this paragraph sounds. We call upon all sides to implement the ceasefire, including in Lebanon. So as you can see, more and more European countries are supporting Lebanon, and probably they're not, we cannot say that they're supporting Lebanon, we can say that they don't support the United States and Israel, but as well they don't support, of course, Iran. But we see that this is something like a pressure on the United States of America, and of course on the Israel side. If you want to continue doing what you're doing, first of all, you need to negotiate this situation with us. The United States of America is preparing for the first round of negotiations during the current conflict that's most likely is going to take place on the territory of Pakistan. But according to information we have, it seems that the Iranian side will not join the negotiation process, or it's just a game from the Iranian side. President Trump had been told the ceasefire with Iran would apply to the Middle East region, and he personally agreed that included Lebanon, according to CBS News, citing multiple diplomatic sources. As you can see, it seems that the President of the United States of America didn't understand what he was signing or what he was agreeing upon when he was provided with this 10-point plan, and now we see the consequences of that decision. Another important thing is that there are reports that Iran is charging fees to tankers going through the Hormuz Strait. They better not be, and if they are, they better stop now, President Donald Trump. So I would like to remind you that according to the ceasefire, according to agreements, the pass through the Strait of Hormuz should be safe, open, and free. But now we see that the situation is completely different, and we see that more and more updates are telling us just about one thing, that there are going to be no ceasefire, no deal in Pakistan, and it seems that the parties right now are preparing themselves before the next round of the third Gulf War. And of course, all these things are doing just one thing: they are pushing prices higher. As of the morning, as of the end, more precisely of the 9th of April of 2026, oil prices were on the level a bit less than $100 per barrel, and during the day we have received lots of updates and reports that the prices are moving towards the level of $100 per barrel. So it seems that just several hours left for the coalition, for the Israeli side and for the United States of America, before they will be able to do whatever they think they must do with this conflict. Now they're waiting when markets are being closed. When the markets are closed, then they will be able to do, they will be able to start negotiation process or quit the negotiation process. At this moment, it won't matter. As for the state of Pakistan, during the day, during the night, we received reports that the American delegation has reportedly arrived in Islamabad for negotiations. Iranian state media claims that no Iranian delegation has departed for Pakistan and that it will not negotiate until Israel holds all strikes on upend operations in Lebanon. But so this is the position of the Iranian side. But today we had a very clear statement made by the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. There is no ceasefire in Lebanon. We continue to strike Hezbollah with full force, and we will not stop until we restore your security. Another important thing that later we received a report that the negotiations between Lebanon and Israel has started, but they will continue under the bombardment. So nobody is going to stop, nobody is going to hold strikes until the negotiation and the final agreement is being signed by parties. But this is something that doesn't fit to demands of the Iranian side. According to them, they will not join the negotiation process until a total and complete ceasefire. So anyway, the situation is very difficult and pretty complicated, very difficult to say what is going to happen next. But one thing is clear, and another important thing that we need to understand and we need to always to keep in our minds, that hearing on 3 corruption cases against the Prime Minister of Israel will resume on April 12th after a break since the end of February due to an operation against Iran, the Jerusalem District Court reported. So which means that the day after tomorrow, on Sunday, this Sunday, we'll see the hearings on 3 corruption cases and which means that everything is possible after our markets, financial markets is closed. Everything is possible just with one purpose: to postpone these hearings for more weeks, in somewhere to May or even June of 2026, which means that the clashes in the Middle East can resume in coming hours. And that's it for today, for the short video. The Military Summary channel reminds you that we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, put on my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.